Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Offshore-LIVE. My name is Rick Cowell. I'm your host, and joining me tonight is Captain Kevin Knox from Anglers Envy Custom Rods. And before we get to Kevin, let me just share with you our big thanks to Charlie Weatherby, the owner and proprietor right here at Off the Hook Restaurant. We're located on the waterfront in Morehead City, North Carolina. And thanks to Charlie and his staff, he allows us to come in here and invade his space to do our show. So thank you very much, Charlie. And if you ever get down to Morehead City, North Carolina, I highly suggest you stopping in to check out Off the Hook Restaurant. So, because they really do have good food. They got a good bar, good service. Everything that you'd want. I know there's some triggerfish sitting right around the corner over here that's about to, it's driving me crazy. Stuffed with a crab. I'm telling you, it just looks phenomenal, doesn't it, Kevin?
It's driving us both crazy.
So let's get started, Kevin. First of all, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
We're happy
Thanks
to have
for
you with
having
us. I couldn't think of a better opportunity for some of the people out here to get a sense for what a custom rod builder does and what a custom rod builder is all about.
Yep.
So thank you so much for being on the show, first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, you brought a few samples of your wares, and I thought it would be interesting to start with, how about this trolling rod right here?
Well, let's back up a little bit,
All right.
and just give you a little bit of history on me and what I do and the company and all that.
Perfect.
I'm located in Atlantic Beach. I have a shop on the ground floor of my house, and so I'm right in Atlantic Beach. I moved down here in 2015 full time. I started building almost 40 years ago, and my mentor was over in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. So there are definitely different styles of fishing rods that you can get built by anybody, and depending upon the style that you want, mine is mostly a North Carolina Southern traditional style, and that is the way that my company has been founded, and it's really a look that I've developed and maintained through the 40 years of doing this. So with that said, I'm in Atlantic Beach, have the website anglersenvy.com. Feel free to take a look or check me out on Facebook, and be more than happy to help you out. If you Instagram is Anglers Envy as well. So I have all the facets covered, which is hard to do these days.
Yeah, hard to keep
especially
up.
being a one-man band.
We
But
thank goodness for Annalise. She's our social media director. She does a bang-up job for us. So.
well, Kevin is the social media director for me. So when I have a problem, I just talk to him.
Right, there you go.
But as far as what I do and what the company does, and pretty much anything saltwater related. So if it's trout rods, if it's drum rods, if it's tarpon rods, if it's king mackerel, wahoo, any of the offshore rods, giant bluefin tuna rods, I do all that. So anything from the tiniest of tiny all the way up to the telephone poles.
Gotcha. Now, I also noticed that you brought some other wares other than rods. Let's talk about that for just a sec.
Yep, as far as when you buy a set of rods, if you want to outfit your entire boat and you want to add a gaff, then we can very easily customize the gaff to match your needs. Or if you're a king mackerel fisherman and you want to have a bait net that matches, we can certainly do that as well to match your whole set. As I tell people all the time that your imagination and what you envision in a rod is the only limit as to what I do when I build it.
You know, that goes right along with our motto is around here is we're only limited by our imagination, and then I can see how that could translate into whatever a guy can imagine. I mean, I'm seeing that these match up clearly for those of you out there. And so you've taken a dip net, basically, and rigged it to look beautiful, in fact, and match up with a really killer gaff.
Yeah, and I use the best components, and what I do is I try to use as much as possible American-made components. Nice. The gaff heads on there are made up in Connecticut. Nice. They're made by Winthrop Tool. And I mean, it's just a far superior gaff head than anything you're going to find on the market. And not only that, but after all the COVID and everything that's going on, I want to keep my money local and support the businesses that are local and have people employed and trying to keep them gainfully active.
Sure.
And so that's what I do as much as possible. As far as the dip nets, though, I mean, I'm limited because AFCO does have very good quality product. So I take their gold shafted dip net and do my magic to it.
Nice.
and make it work.
Now, around here, we do a lot of live bait fishing. And I notice that you've got what I would consider a live bait rod here. Let's talk about this rod.
The live bait segment down here is a population that I was exposed to in about 2005 or 6. I used to work in Ocean City, Maryland, and when I did, I was in the offshore market up there. When I came down here, bought a beach house and started live bait fishing, I was hooked.
Yeah.
And I never went, I mean, I still go out and mahi fish a little bit and tuna and all that stuff in the wintertime. But my love is live bait fishing. So what I've done is I took a venture into that market about 8 or 9 years ago now. And what I've done is worked with, again, Winthrop Tool, which is up in Connecticut. We developed this unibutt. It's basically a unibutt. It's a lightweight aircraft aluminum butt.
It's very nice, and I'm glad you brought this to our attention because I was noticing that is just killer streamlined looking.
And we were originally looking in the Miami market for sailfish, and they wanted a lightweight sailfish butt. And when I started doing this, I sat there one day and it just smacked me in the face, and I said, wait a minute, I can use this for king mackerel rods.
Now, when you say a unibutt, what do you mean by that?
A unibutt is the rear section of the rod, of an offshore rod, which would detach.
There you go. So easily
So that's
storable.
a unibutt. And with Winthrop Tool, we have the capability of either doing this as detachable or standalone, and we can leave it as it is attached to the rod permanently.
Now, one of the things that separates a live bait rod, for example, is the amount of taper, fast taper, if you will, on a rod.
Yep.
So that we can get that action.
The fast taper and the very quick action. You can see here with this rod, it's got a very limber tip. What does that do? What is the benefit of that? The benefit of that is that limber tip does not drag the live bait through the water. It lets it swim. When it lets the bait swim, they live longer.
Right.
And you're not running through bait as often, and it gives it a more lifelike, a free, quote-unquote, appearance when the baits are swimming through the water.
So the rod tip's going to give when the boat rocks or any little bit of movement. It's going to give the fish a little bit longer to react.
With that rod, when I'm fishing, I can look in that rod holder and that tip is going like this, which is exactly what that fish's tail is doing. And that's what I want to be able to see, because when it gets excited or it starts darting, I can see all that in the rod. And that's, to me, is what is important. Now, as a rod builder, what we did was I originally came out with an offering, and I put it in the hands of people down here who fish all the time, and they know what they want, and they know what they need. Took their feedback, then went to the factory where I have the blanks made, gave them the feedback, and they developed the blank to meet the customer's needs. And this rod was actually developed and replicated the Shimano Talus rod, which was discontinued by Shimano years ago. So you can't get that rod anymore. But now I have this rod, which is
close proximity
99.9% identical.
So that has a special place, not only here, but up and down the East Coast, where we do a lot of live bait fishing.
I sell these rods all over the world. I actually have a guy in Abu Dhabi who fishes my rods in the American Emirates.
Right.
And I mean, so they're used all over the world, but they're not just for that application. A live bait king mackerel rod can also be a cobia rod on the Chesapeake Bay.
There you go.
It can be a oil rig rod down in the Gulf of Mexico. So there are various applications that you can use the same blank over and over and over again for that will suit that need.
Now, when it comes to materials, like for instance, back to this gaff right here, Tell us about the process of doing something like this right here.
This is a fiberglass gaff, and I prefer fiberglass over aluminum because the aluminum, inevitably, when you get a good fish next to the boat, you're going to bend the gaff, and it's not going to come back. The fiberglass will actually bend and flex and go back, and they're durable. They don't have any issues. But what I do is I take it a step further. If you were going into the store to buy one, it would have a little foam grip here and a little foam grip there, and that's it. Well, what I do is I take heat shrink tubing with cord underneath, which gives you the gripability, and then epoxy all that to the blank.
It's very nice.
The advantage of working with somebody like myself is that when you have a problem with it, for some reason, if that were to let go and break or fall off,
come off, right?
You call me up and I take care of it and fix it for you. So and I know it because I built it. So
that's that
that's
personal
an advantage,
touch.
yeah, and that's
huge advantage.
I'm a firm believer in taking care of the people and taking care of the customers and making sure that their needs are met at all costs, because that's the way business used to be done. And that's what I'm trying to bring back.
Right on. I mean, when we talk about the way things used to be done, I noticed, for example, that this has a cork handle on it, which you hardly even see anymore.
You don't see it because of the expense that it takes to create that and put that in a mass production level is so high that people just don't do it anymore. Cork isn't the same that it used to be. 20 years ago, the whole cork market changed, and they started growing the cork faster. Cork is an actual product that grows on a tree.
Right, yeah.
And when they harvest it, they were fertilizing. They're fertilizing and doing more to grow that cork
quicker.
faster, which, just like pine, makes it weaker. So it's not what it used to be, but what we do in the business is we still try to deal with the highest grade A quality cork that we can get, and do it, and so we don't have to. I don't want to have a rod come back.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
So you do it right the first time, and you spend the extra. I mean, for something like this is probably $5 more for the highest grade cork. If you're in a mass production level doing 2 million rods, you can do the math. That adds up
quickly.
So,
Sure does.
but when I'm doing it from this level, it's like, hey, $5.
Right.
We buy the best we can get.
And you know, it's funny because I look back and the old school stuff is what still works.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't get away from the good old days
when you did it right.
When it was done correctly. You're exactly right. Now, when it comes to the wraps and bindings, is that what we call it?
The wraps.
The wraps. I can only imagine that there's a multitude of colors and options available to people.
The kaleidoscope, there's about 200 different colors of threads that I can use.
Let me ask you this. What is the strangest request that you've ever had? Can you think of anything that would stand out to you?
I have one customer that had to have her diamond tennis bracelet on her rod. So I actually made a winding check that goes right above the grip of her diamond tennis bracelet. Went to the jeweler and got that all made and sized and everything, and made and actually put it on the rod and then encased it in the diamonds.
What?
Yeah, I did a rod a long time ago for a gentleman whose grandfather's ashes are in the rod.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and the stories, and that's what one of the things that I love about doing what I do is everybody has a story.
Sure.
It may be a great story, it may be a bad story,
sure.
but when you
Everybody's
hear
got
the
a story.
stories of these people, and I ask them all the time when they come into the shop, tell me your story. What makes you you? And that's what I go through, and that's what feeds my passion for what I do. I mean, case in point, the customer with the MAGA rod. He's a hard-working construction worker who won the Big Rock on the runoff, and he's incredibly patriotic, and it's contagious. And so when he asked me to build him 16 rods, I built him 16 USA rods and American theme rods, and that's so it feeds.
I don't know if you can make that out, but it is the stars and stripes. I mean, that is just a killer design.
So I did 8 that have red wraps, and then 8 that have blue wraps.
Very nice.
So it's something, it's different, and it's something that you're not, what I brought here was a selection of items that you're not gonna find in a store.
Right.
It's not black. That's why they do black on black in the store, because it's
mass produced,
quick, easy, bing, bam, boom.
Well, let me ask you this. Does it take somebody having won the big rock to be able to afford one of your rods?
No. There are a lot of instances where my rods are less expensive-ish than what you would buy in the store, but most of the times, a lot of the rods, like a planer rod, you go into the store and buy a planer rod for $475. Well, you buy a custom one from me for $525.
There you go.
So you're getting a better built product with better built components that's going to last longer and is built for you and is built locally.
And it's going to keep the economy local
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, now, when we say a planer rod, for those who are out there that don't know what a planer rod is, maybe you could explain that to us.
Planer rod is a shorter rod with a swivel tip that is used for pretty much for wahoo fishing. It's also used in giant bluefin tuna fishing. It's a way of getting a line down deep.
And so you want to run that thing down to around 40 feet or wherever you think is the right place in the column. And I mean, when we're talking about a planer now, we're probably talking about an old number 24.
That number 24, yep.
The old number 24 is a huge planer, about yay big. So I remember those days as well.
Yeah. So but it all goes into the engineering and construction and having the but having the ability to farm the experience that I have and have had in the past with building these rods and doing it right for people. Case in point, like with all the king mackerel rods, you go into the store, they're going to have one layer of thread over top of them. All of my rods have two. Any saltwater rod that I build has 2 layers of thread. It gives you more adhesion. It's like, remember the three wolves, or the wolves blowing on the haystack house. When you have that straw that's inside that cement, it's more, it is a more durable, longer lasting product. They don't offer that in a store-bought rod, whereas with custom rods, it's pretty much standard.
Well, I got to tell you, these are incredibly amazing works of art. Is what I see in front of me, and to know that someone could call you up and say, "Hey, I want this color, I want this style," is a pretty cool thing.
And I get a lot of people. Every rod build that I do goes onto my website. It goes onto Facebook, on my company page at Anglers Envy Custom Rods. People go through. They call me and they say, "Well, what color rod should I get?" And I tell them to grab a beer, sit down, and start going through the library of photos and all the photo albums that I have on there, because it's just so many different things that I can do. Like on this one. Actually, on the gaff and on this one, that all has mother of pearl that's inlaid in there.
What?
That blue is mother of pearl.
Oh, wow.
Which is abalone, and I actually developed that method back in 2007 and brought that to the industry.
Very nice.
So it's something that we can do that no one else has.
It's pretty incredible.
You can see it shimmer in that sunlight.
It probably is not going to show up on the camera. But it is very, very, now that you brought it to my attention, that is crazy.
Out in the sunlight, it just dances.
I'll bet it
does.
And
I can do that in 400 different colors.
Wow. That is, I'll tell you, I'm always amazed at what people can do when they put their minds to something, and you got a little artistic flair going on. You've got your own style that you bring to making these. And it's just incredible. To see this sort of finished product. I love the fact that you can say, "Hey, here's what I've done.
Yep.
This is what I did for the guy," and he's happy. That's got to be very satisfying.
Oh, absolutely. But my thing that I'm most proud about is the mother of pearl. That took 5 years for me to develop that process. You can't patent a process. You can't patent a recipe. So I couldn't do anything with it. So I gave it back to the industry, and there's a lot of other people out there now that put the mother of pearl on rods and do it for themselves. So it's just a nice sharp, classic touch.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very nice indeed. Let's switch gears for a minute here. Because right now, on the Moorhead waterfront, there's a couple of captains meetings going on.
Yep.
Because we've got tournaments kicking off all around us right now. We've got the Chris Perry Memorial Billfish Tournament getting ready to crank off this weekend. They're out of Jack's restaurant and bar, just across the street from us, from where we are right now. And then we've got the Cape Lookout Shootout going on this weekend.
First leg.
This is the northern leg.
Yep.
You may recall Scott Parsons was discussing this tournament with us. So you're going to be involved with this particular tournament. So let me pick your brain about that for a minute. So 60 boats, if I remember correctly.
It's actually going to be, there's a little hitch this year. It's going to be, I think, 70 boats because there were boats that did not get into the tournament. So there's 10 boats that are going to be having their own little tournament.
Nice.
To see who wins to get into the big show.
Okay, well.
Yeah, drama.
Wow, no kidding. So that's a one-day shootout kind of deal?
One-day tournament.
Is that tomorrow?
That's Saturday.
Saturday. Nice.
Yeah. So and that's going to be, so it's 60 boats. It's the top 60 boats in North Carolina, and it's really the elite class of king mackerel fishermen in North Carolina.
I mean, these guys are the pros. I mean, for the most part.
That's what they say, yeah.
Well, I mean, they fancy themselves as pros, let's put it that way. And it's not hard to imagine that, well, let's see, you guys are ranked currently 38th.
Yep.
Which is nothing to sneeze at right there, buddy.
I take it, and it gives me a lot of room for improvement, and our team, it'll give anglers envy. It gives me, it's a good opportunity not only to go out and fish and use the product that I make, but to still be out there with a great bunch of people that are fighting for a good cause.
Yeah, man. You had said just a second ago, I've lost my train of thought now, but essentially, to be fishing with these guys who consider themselves the best of the best. And last year, you did pretty well during this tournament, as I recall.
This leg last year, we had a great day, and it was the best day. I mean, the seas were 8 to 10 foot. Not many fish were being caught, and we had a 49.8. And thought for sure, but it's one of those where you don't want to think about it too much because you might jinx it. And I think somebody on my boat thought about it too much, and it was probably me. But we jinxed it, and we lost it by a pound.
By 1 pound.
1 pound to a great bunch of people, and and that's the thing. I mean, everybody in here, and there's no wars or anything. Everybody loves each other, and it's a good bunch of down to earth people.
You know, we talk about that time and time again on the show, and that is the camaraderie, the brotherhood of the fishing community. Is a tangible thing. I mean,
everybody stands up for everybody else, and everybody else has everybody has everybody else's back.
Now, of course, everybody's going to have their own tricks that they like to utilize when it comes to fishing time, and that's perfectly
There's
acceptable.
quite a few.
But when you boil it right down, most of the guys go to about the same places anyway. So, I mean, I just remember from my days of king mackerel fishing, live baiting with David Barber and Cynthia Barber and some old friends of mine. And one of the neatest things about it was, now I know that you guys target king mackerels, but you never know what you're going to catch when you throw out a live bait offshore.
No.
And that is one of the coolest things to me. You might hook up on a nice bull dolphin, nice wahoo. You never know. Sailfish, barracuda,
amberjack, sharks.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Now, of course, you want to throw all those out of the window when you're king mackerel fishing, clearly, because it is, you know, to be able to go out and catch a target species, I guess, is pretty cool, is what I'm saying.
And that it is. And when it all comes together, it's so rewarding.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's really cool. So you're going to be fishing that now. That's a one-day tournament, Saturday only.
The first leg is Saturday only.
How about the 10 guys that are vying to get in there?
That's the same day.
Oh, okay. So out of those, one of those is going to get in.
I don't remember the number, but it's 1, 2, or 3, something like that. People are.
That's interesting.
They're fighting to get into their spot.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I wish those guys a lot of luck. I wish all of the guys at the Cape Lookout shootout a lot of luck. This has been going on for a few years now. This tournament's growing and growing.
5 years now, I think
Yeah,
it is, and maybe it's longer than that. But all the years kind of run together. But yeah, it's been around for a while, and all the benefits go to a Military Appreciation Day. So
And what a great cause.
absolutely.
Dude, I'm telling you, that because we're in a military community, so we love our vets
Yep.
and our military people. We surely do. So thank you for your service if you are a vet, and we mean that from around here. Let's talk about a fishing forecast. What's been going on out there here lately?
It's been hit or miss, up and down. There were some good fish caught last week, and we thought there was going to be a good influx of fish coming up from the south. However, the weather went downhill for a couple of days and actually pushed the fish. It looks like they went back down south. So we're still waiting on them to come in here and get back up, because from what we're seeing, the fish are a little bit small. It's going to leave a lot of opportunity for somebody to roll in there and pull out a mid to high 40s.
I think we've got a front that's coming in, going to stall around us. So what are the forecasts? What's the fishing forecast for this weekend?
It's going to be a little hairy. It's going to be typical tournament
I was
day.
going to say, what is it about king mackerel tournaments or tournaments this time of the year that always just seem to have snotty weather?
It's horrible. It really is. I mean, it's going to be blowing probably 15 to 20 and going to have
Out of the
seas 5
southwest,
feet. Out of the
surely.
southwest,
Yeah, yeah. The typical late summer weather pattern for here in eastern North Carolina. And that is one of the reasons why you'll see these guys on these big, 2, 3, and 4 engine boats, is to mitigate those seas, obviously.
Mitigate the chiropractor appointments.
Because it can get sporty out there really, really
can.
quickly.
Yes, it can.
I mean, when you know you got to go out there, you just got to steel yourself and just do it.
Just do it.
Don't you?
Yep. And
I mean, hang on.
there's a lot of days where none of us want to be out there.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know what? Let's just get through it and get done.
If we can get through the inlet, usually it kind of smooths out a little bit offshore. Typically.
And inevitably, there's one of those days where you think that, and then you get to about 2 o'clock, and boom, that rod explodes, and then
made
it's
it all
game
worthwhile.
on.
Forgot all about that ride out. Didn't
Absolutely, it made the day go a whole lot quicker.
I'm digging where that's coming from, because that usually helps. All of the doldrums.
It always helps.
Yes, it does. Well, Kevin, it's been fascinating talking with you, brother. Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
And you're welcome to come back anytime. I'd love to have you back and find out how you did during the
I look forward
offshore Cape Lookout shootout. Yeah, man.
I'd love to.
And maybe you and I can meet up at our favorite bar at the Tackle Box.
Tackle Box, baby.
And have us a beer, and we can talk some more, tell some more fishing lies.
There you go.
Well, thank you again, Kevin. We
Thank you.
certainly appreciate it. What an interesting discussion that we've had. And thank you guys for your interest, and thank you for watching. This is our 11th episode, and there's many more to come. So until next time, you guys, tight lines, this is Rick Cowell signing off.